Hello everyone, it's Captain Navs back with you once again for another episode in my A Pilot's Life Twitch stream. This episode is actually a continuation of the stream that started in episode 6, where we went from Edmonton to Calgary, and now we're going to go from Calgary up to Fort St. John. So we're going to just join this midstream,
Let's just
so
go ahead
enjoy.
And get some stuff on again here. Alright, and we're going to kill this flight plan and put a new one in there. And we'll just do it the easy way and bring it up here, because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing and type in stuff when I don't have to keep my head super still here. And we're going to CYXJ, Fort St. John, okay. And so the routing today, SemBrief has planned out for us as AgMac, Tamvu, and Vokim, Obnap, nope, Obnap with an N, Obnap, and then YQU direct, oops, QU. There we go. Flight plan is in. Depart. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to depart 35 left. We'll probably take an intersection departure because there's no need for the whole thing. We don't need 10,000 feet to depart in a Dash 8. Ever. If you need 10,000 feet to depart in a Dash 8, you're doing something wrong. Arrive. Runway 21. I really honestly don't know approaches. There's no stars. There's an RNAV 21, so we can pop that in there. I don't even know what transition to put right now, so we'll just leave that as blank. Anyways, after YQU, we'll continue along there as we get closer, and we'll do something to fix that up. No link there as well. All right. In the meantime, fuel page here. So we're looking at our alternate today is going to require 1214. Our holding fuel of 1329. 0 extra means our reserves are 2500. Our fuel, we should actually call our fueler here. Request refueling. I should really be doing
on to the next sector.
And I should be doing that because we don't need the full 30 minutes here to turn anyways. We're going to be out of here long before that's up. Okay, but we do need in total 8,800 pounds here. Okay. Alright, so today we're going to load 8,800 pounds for takeoff. Our trip is going to be 4,600 pounds. It's going to be an hour 43. We got to get this show on the road or I'm not going to have time to get it done. Calculate that. And again, we're probably got a pretty full bus because they always give us a full bus on SemBrief. A little bit less than full, 17, so they need 68 people, so 22. 68 people in total, good. And maybe we can drop this down to 1350. And send that over. Alright, request catering service. Fuel truck's on its way. And in a few minutes we're going to request boarding here. So when the fuel truck does get here, we'll just do it now. 8,700 was what I said? 8,800? We'll do 8,800. Yeah, that's what we got on board. Alright, and the time zone's still -7 there for the arrivals. Okay, good. Alright, what else we got to do here? Alright, so we got that all programmed in. Let's go ahead and just check over the whole flight deck here. Batteries on, electrical panel still the same. De-icing is all off right now, that's fine. Lights are fine. Fire protection we don't need too badly here. APU, ignition panel's fine. Ignition lights are good. RMU. Fueling's done, so we put that on. And the bleeds are off, that's fine. Good stuff. Alright, let's see here. Calgary. 3-5 left, I'm pretty sure it was 3-4-5. Let's just pull up the Navigraph charts and let's do the easy thing. New flight directly from my SemBrief, Calgary to Fort St. John. There we go. And I can show Calgary, I can show that, and I can show the Calgary 7 departure to start.
Now for the walk around.
Thank you. There's the fuel truck. He's doing his thing. There you go. Alright. What was I doing there? Before I got distracted, I don't even remember what I was doing. Anyway, doing his thing. There goes the fuel into the airplane. 14 seconds to load it. Yeah, sorry, we were looking for the... before I distracted myself with silly things, we were looking for the runway heading here in Calgary. 35 left, it's heading 345, which is still set from the arrival. Good. We're going to have probably a pretty heavy takeoff here today. 64,000 pounds. Okay, 64,000 it is. Still going to do flap 5. So we're looking at 136. 136, 136. I have to open exit 4. Probably for the catering truck, right? Yeah, for the catering truck. 136, 136, 136. 144, 156. $154, $156. There we go. And so the flap traction altitude here is going to be, we're at 35 and change, 36. That's going to be 46. So NDA has to be set to 46. There we go. And we can do go around heading, alt cell, and yaw damper on, and just check the Calgary 7 departure here for altitude, probably 7,000 or something like that. Yep, it is 7,000, good. So 7,000 stays, that's good. And that's it. So looks like our PFD is all set, all of our flight controls, everything's looking good, everything is set. Condition leaders are fuel off, the flaps are up, everybody's set. Okay, everybody seems to be happy here. Okay. Gotta wait for him to come back before I can give him the departure briefing anyways. But, yeah, here we go. Another leg. Fuel truck done. The fuel truck and the catering truck have become one. Oh, sometimes I love this.
Hi guys, do you mind if we start boarding now?
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, I'll be back with the load sheet later.
Alright, so we're boarding.
I'm back from the walk around. Everything looks good.
Thank you. Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
Okay, so today we're taxiing out from... where are we here? Alright, we're taxiing out from Alpha 72 here. We're going to taxi down Charlie, crossing 29, and we'll probably do an intersection from... Heck, we could probably do it from Uniform. That'll still give us 6,000 feet half of this 12,000 foot runway. Let's do it from Uniform. For 6,000 foot runway departure.
Morning. Morning.
And we're doing the Calgary 7 departure. Runway 35 left, heading 345 is assigned, clock to maintain 7,000 for factors to assign fix, that's it. The MSA, the highest one in our direction anyways, is 5,800. The weather is beautiful here. We're going to try and do a single engine taxi out. If I can just pull up my SOPs in a second here. And operational, I don't think I have too much else to say besides that. No NOTAMs of any relevance, no MELs. We're going to do single engine taxi out for the first time ever, if I can pull this stuff up. Let's just have a quick look here, because I've got it here somewhere. I haven't done it in a while. And I looked through it, but I don't want to have it in front of me because I'm going to forget what I'm doing in the flows as I do it. So give me 1 second while I pull these up while these guys are all still getting ready. And as I'm thinking about this, if we want to do that intersection departure, we are a pretty heavy aircraft today. I might switch to the flap 15 takeoff just for the weight. more than anything else.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
See if I can
I'm
do
doing
it this
good.
way. Do we have...
Hello.
Just trying to find it here. Okay. Da. That's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for taxi out, not taxi in. And I'm going to have to do the first officer's roles as well in order for this to work. So I'm going to have to skip the FS2 crew on this, but that's fine. So we'll skip the FS2 crew for the taxi out part, and we'll do the single engine taxi out with me as the sole person doing it. I think I can close the catering doors now. Fuel truck should be going any second now. Boarding's almost done. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alright, and I think we got everything in there, so we're just going to change to flap 15 for takeoff. That's all we're going to do here, so just give me 1 second to just adjust these numbers here. So it's 122 now. And fry is 132. But then B climb stays the same, because B climb is flaps up. Alright, one thing I do need to do as well, not that. That was the wrong button. No, I need to do the briefing. So it's flap 15 departure today, level 1. There we go. Okay, that's better. Before start, checklist.
Stand by.
See, and then he's the one that gets rid of my heading and also.
Pre-flight checks.
Complete.
Complete. External power, APU voltage.
On checked 27 volts.
Circuit breakers.
Checked.
Checked. Escape hatch.
Closed.
No steering.
Off.
Flight guidance control panel. Set. Fuel quantity. 8810 pounds on board.
8700 pounds required.
Hydraulic number 3 pressure.
Checked 0 psi.
Emergency brake. Pressure.
Park. Check.
Power levers.
Disc.
Condition levers.
Fuel off.
Emergency light switch.
Armed.
Fasten belt switch.
On.
On. Departure briefing.
Complete.
Complete. Before start, checklist complete.
Alright. This is going to be interesting. As I try to do this. I'm pretty much going to have to read this in order to do it, just because it's so unusual to what I'm used to doing here. But that's the way it is sometimes. Alright, I think otherwise, I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep on accepting this guy here.
Hi guys, here's the load sheet for you. Have a safe flight.
Thank you. Did GSX finish loading? That's my question now too. Baggage loading in progress. Oh shoot. Always waiting for the bloody baggage loading. And he's probably driving from somewhere in the middle of nowhere just to get here. Yeah, we need to get this flight going, so we're just going to go ahead and skip him. Skip your baggage loading. If you weren't ready, too bad. Oh, never mind. Here it comes. I see it over there. Okay. You have time for this. So while they're doing that, I'm actually just going to step away real quick and just grab something, and I'll be right back.
Alright guys, everyone's seated. We're all buttoned up and ready to go in the back.
As you can see, we're back. We're just going to watch these guys load really quick. They should be done in no time. Little VATSIM check. Anything else happening around? Looks like we have another Encore flight inbound. One thing we can do while we're sitting here waiting, let's get rid of the jet bridge. Passengers are already all boarded, so that's okay. There goes the jet bridge. We're just waiting to see the baggage loader leave. Once he's done, we're on our way. And he's on his way, so I guess we're done. Very good. We got everything closed up. Nice. Engine start checklist to the line.
Battery master, main auxiliary, standby.
On.
Doors, fueling lights.
Checked. Closed and out.
Any collision light.
Red.
Engine start checklist completed to the line.
Due to icing conditions, please
Below the line.
Engine start until
APU
push
bleed.
completed and brakes set.
Off.
Engine, clear on 2.
Clear on 2.
Engine start checklist complete.
Start 2 for me, please.
Starting 2.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Now,
Locking gear.
one thing I may have to do as well is start this manually. Because I'm pretty sure it wants to see both engines started, and right now, I've only got one engine started. That's associated.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Cockpit to ground.
Release sparking plugs.
Please disconnect external power.
Roger, disconnecting the GPU.
He's going to give me an audio signal in a second here.
GPU is now disconnected.
Thank you.
Release sparking brakes. Commencing push. Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push completed and brakes set.
There are no icing conditions today, but anyways, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Regardless, here we go for single engine taxi. So basically nothing happens. Got one engine running, or number 2 engine running, I guess is the case it may be. And that's it. Nothing else happens until after everything's disconnected, and then we would do our after starts and stuff like that. So from this point on, I'm not going to use FS2 crew until we get to the before takeoff checklist phase, because FS2 crew is not designed for this. And I would suggest this to FS2 crew that, people have talked to me about this. A lot of people are interested in single engine taxiing in the Dash 8. It's something that a lot of operators do very regularly to save fuel. So why are we not doing it? Yeah, send the baggage on the next flight, says the guy watching my channel. The passengers, yeah, they will not be happy about that. I wonder how many flights there are to Port St. John in a day anyways. Probably might be one more, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how big of an airport it really is. I wouldn't want to wait for the next flight.
Set parking brakes.
Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
Yeah, we got a good engine start on the engine we're starting anyways. Alright, this is going to be the fun part. So there's no longer an after start checklist. Well, there is an after start checklist actually, but you only start the after start checklist after both engines are started. So there's a before taxi checklist in this process, which is just a little bit different. Everything about this is just a little bit different, just enough to really throw everything for a loop. All right, so there go those guys. So we're gonna go ahead and take that out of start feather. We wait for the one AC generator anyways to come online.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Okay, so the captain flow in this case, don't do anything here, but you can put all the ice protection on again as needed. Those on, and then the captain does the usual rudder travel check. But we have to wait for the FO to select our takeoff flap. So the FO's flow is bleed air. Not that one because there's only one engine's on, or two engines on. Recirc fan is on. Hydraulic pumps are on. Those have to be on. Flaps set for takeoff. There's our flap 15, and control locks off. Tank aux pumps on. Don't put the auto feather on because it won't do anything at this point. Alright, so now that the flaps are selected, the captain can do the rudder check. That's done. And then the FO can also do the flight control check, so open the number 3 valve, do the control check. Make sure the spoilers and the elevators move on the system panel there. And then we can do the first checklist. At some point during taxiing, I'm going to stop so we can do this properly. Where's my other checklist? It's my other Dash 8 checklist. Okay, so before taxi checklist. External power. There you go. External power APU are off. Recirc fan is on. Bleed air is 2 is min and on. Ice protection, standard plus the windshield. Tank aux pumps are on. Hide pumps are on. High press and quantity checks. Height 3 and elevators were checked. Flight controls checked and free. Nose steering is, I guess that would also help if I did that. On. And radar navcom is set. So now we've got the hide pumps on. That's the my checklist. That's the big thing. We've got the hide pumps on. We've got pressure in the number 1 system. We have normal brakes, even though number 1 engine is not running. And away we go. So I'm not going to even bother with FS2 crew at this point. Now, you can move both power levers if you want at this point. Just keep in mind you've only got one engine running, so you're not going to get nearly the response out of the airplane. taxi light on. The other thing too is that when you do go to start the second engine, this has to be back in disk, so it's almost easier just to move one condition or one power lever at a time, and it reminds you about the fact that you are operating single engine, as if the laggy performance in the airplane was not enough to tell you. Alright, there you go. So single engine, you see like there's things that need to happen. You still need to check the ice protection systems, definitely need the hydraulics, the flight controls all checked before you get going, because it's hard to do the flight control check with the with the rudder check and everything while you're moving without moving the nose wheel. So possible, but not a good idea. Alright, so we're going to taxi back out Juliet Sierra again and taxi Juliet Charlie for departure 35 left from uniform, and we're going to make a call to that effect. Calgary traffic, Encore 3101 is at the main terminal. We're taxiing Juliet, Charlie, and a uniform to depart runway 35 left from uniform. And I'm going to have to look at VATSIM before we depart to make sure I do know where this person is. So, right turn against the operating engine's a little bit hard. You have to make them a little bit shallower and carry momentum into them. If you stop during a right turn during single engine taxi, you have a lot of trouble getting going again. You're going to have to go straight for at least 10 feet or so to get at least a little bit of momentum before you can start making a turn again. So be very careful. Try not to let that airplane stop during a right turn during single engine taxi, or you're going to be in trouble. Alright, go back to using the rudder so it's a little bit more smooth here. And there we go. What is about Tuesdays and telemarketers calling on Tuesdays, I swear. It does feel a little bit odd to only be taxing on single engine. It works, it's fine, it's workable, but it changes things quite a lot. You have to be ready for that. Okay, now this is golf. I think golf can be used as a shortcut, but we're just going to go straight forward here. We're going to use Charlie, which I think will be the next left turn after this. Because I see the runway crossing signs up ahead, and we're not crossing the runway, so it'll be the next left turn. And likewise with the airplane being slower to accelerate, if you're relying on disking, the airplane also, on disking on a single engine only, is going to be slower to decelerate. So you do have to plan things out a little bit more when you're single engine taxiing too. You have to plan out when you're going to start the engine, because you need to give it a good solid like 15 to 30 seconds at start feather before you bring the condition lever all the way up to max. So now that we're going to be on this nice straight section here, we're going to start the engine here. And unfortunately I am going to pull out my checklist again. This is going to be horribly awkward for a second. But I have to do it because I am just totally unfamiliar, so there's going to be a lot of bouncing back and forth for a second here while we do this again. Alright, so first of all you look, say clear on 1. Okay, starting 1, start it like you normally would. The FO is going to be doing this, so the captain can continue with giving all their attention to taxiing. And condition lever 1, start feather once you see the fuel flow. Taxiing quite slowly because I'm trying to do the jobs of 3 people. This is why single engine taxiing, especially in the sim, does not work well. Alright, there we go. So you need to just at least make sure that the engine 1 is stable. Alright, And we're just going to focus what we're doing here for a second. Cross runway 29, clear left and right. We'll get the strobe on. Okay, condition lever 1 max, after start checklist. So the FO will pull out the after start checklist once the condition lever 1, or once the engine 1 prop gets up to full operating speed, about 660 RPM, and the AC gens are gone. AC gen lights are gone, I should say. And now we have full power from both engines available. And again, there's a whole other checklist here and some other stuff that's got to happen. So you got to make sure that you get the auto feather on now. You select the correct takeoff power setting. Now you can do main bus tie off. APU air on number 1 can come, or bleed air on number 1 can come on. And what else am I missing here? And then that's it. And then after start checklist has got to be red. And where did I put my checklist already? I lost it already. There it is. And now we got 2 engines running. Now we're really moving again here. So now the after start checklist. Bus tie is off. Bleed air is min and on. Caution and warning lights checked. De-ice pressure checks. Condition levers are max. Start select light is out. Flaps are 15 set and indicating. Auto feather is AF select. Engine rating is normal takeoff power 90%. Altimeters 2960 inches set and cross check. This is uniform here, so we're going to turn here. Battery temps and loads. Everything looks normal. PFD, MFD, ED are all. We're just going to set this one to nav for me. Set. And cabin secure after start checklist complete. So that's how that works. That's a little bit awkward to say the least, especially when you're trying to use it against the FS2 crew, and I just have to return my checklist over here from whence it came. Alright, we're going to take a little VATSIM check here in a second, but you can see how awkward that is, trying to get that done. And especially single pilot, like it really is, because you're going to probably be moving when you're starting the second engine. It really is a 2-crew procedure. There's no 2 ways about it. Trying to do it by myself there was incredibly awkward. Trying to taxi the airplane and start the second engine. Very awkward. So let's just stop here for a minute and let me gather my wits about me here for a second. And let's get FS2 crew here. Before takeoff checklist to the line.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
See, he's doing all the stuff I've already done in the after start checklist, because their SOP doesn't match ours at all.
FA notification received. Takeoff briefing complete. Cabin PA complete. Condition levers.
Max.
Max. Trims.
3 set.
3 set. Takeoff warning test.
Tested.
Flight controls checked and free. Flight taxi.
Flight.
Radar terrain. Transponder TCAS on out. Before takeoff checklist completed to the line.
Oh, we got the strobes on from before, so okay.
Checked.
Calgary traffic. Encore 3101 is entering runway 35 left at uniform for departure 35 left. Calgary 7 departure. Also saved a lot of taxiing too by doing that. We're doing this intersection departure. Below the line.
Leads men on. External lights on. Runway.
Runway 30 heading 345. Runway 30, heading 345.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Let's do it. Check power.
Power checked. Knots.
Checked.
Flight deck. thanks. Captain, they're securing the back.
Mm-hmm.
B1, rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up. Acceleration altitude.
Flap 0, IAS 200, climb checklist to the line. Autopilot on.
Autopilot is on. Climb checklist completed to the line.
Checked. Calgary traffic, Encore 3101 is clear, runway 35 left on departure. Alright, let's go ahead and set our cruise altitude of 20... Was it 20 or was it 22? I can't remember now. Set 20 anyways to start. There's 200, no mountains off in that direction yet. Let's go ahead for our first fix here. TTO, AgMac. LNaving, AgMac. And we're going to need a little bit of trim in there again. And we're getting there. Alright, this time we are going to take it out of IAS mode. We're just going to let it climb in pitch hold mode, because it just works better in this airplane, it really does. There we go, underway for another leg. And I don't even want to look yet, but I will. Performance page, 2 hours and 12 minutes from now. It's not going to be 2 hours and 12 minutes. We got lots of room to accelerate here. We're only grounding, what are we grounding now? 187 right now. We're going to take quite a bit of time off that. But we are going to get the prop heat on, because I see a cloud coming up. So we now have level 2 props and windshields on. And fare thee well, Calgary. I never did see that other Encore flight there. That was inbound. Didn't hear him on the radio either, so don't know if he's making radio calls or not. Saw that get stuck there. That happened to me once before on final, where I tried to trim something away and it got stuck in the dark and I didn't even see it. At least this time it's daylight, I can see what's going on there. Alright, I'm going to take myself a shortcut and I'm going to say let's go direct to Volcom number 7. No need to go all the way over there. That's a little better. I imagine the real-world controllers would give us a similar shortcut. I certainly hope. And we're just waiting to see about 3,600 feet come in here. There's the mountains off to the west. And once we see 3,600 come in, then we can do the... Uh-oh. Oh. Stupid. That was the flap lever was still in the same position I set it, and the FO retracted it without moving it on my throttle quadrant. Stupid thing. Oh, FS2 crew, you're killing me here. You're killing me, really. Alright, how are we doing now on that performance page? 218 still. Got even worse when we turned into the wind there. Got grounding now, 173. Below the line.
Climb checklist complete.
Alright, and we'll go ahead and take the seatbelts off because it looks like a pretty nice morning up here still in the west coast. But there we are, another leg underway on our way to Fort St. John. Never been there before. This is going to be a real adventure. A place I have never been to, sim or otherwise. So we're gonna see what we can find. I don't even know what it's like if it's mountainous up there. I really didn't do too much research before I got there. I hate to be, I probably should have, but that's part of the adventure, I think, too. Is just getting out there and just doing these things and having fun along the way. All right, just a quick check of my sim brief again. What was the file altitude? Was it 20 or was it 22? It was 20. 20,000, probably due to the wind more than anything if I was a betting man. Because it seems like there's a fair bit of wind on the way there, unfortunately, today. Not much you can do about it. Off into the wild blue yonder. The cloud deck that was here earlier when we flew down from Calgary seems to have mostly disappeared. Looking like a very nice day out here overall. It's going to be a really nice day, I think. Don't need this timer going anymore here. So that was a fun little adventure. I have not done single engine taxi out in a very long time in this aircraft. It's not inherently challenging, but it just, things need to happen very differently than they happen normally, and I'm very used to that normal flow. After start, most of the stuff gets done, and then a few things get rechecked in the pre-takeoff checklist, but otherwise it's very, it's fairly straightforward, and when you do the single engine taxi, things happen very differently. A whole bunch of stuff has to happen between the two engine starts. After the first engine started, before you start taxiing, you got to make sure you got hide pumps on, you got to check the flight controls. All that stuff's got to happen. The ace protection's got to be on for the taxiing in case you're accumulating anything on the way out. But then you also can't have the auto feather on. You can't set the takeoff power because not both engines are running, so they won't recognize it properly. So there's a bunch of stuff that has to happen, and especially in a single crew environment, as we are flying here on the sim, it's almost impossible. If FS2 crew could handle it, it would make it definitely doable. If FS2 crew could do the start, you could do the various checklist items on the taxi out, read the checklist, on the taxi out, that would definitely be viable. But without FS2 crew able to do that, it really, really reduces the ability of one person to do it, because it's just a lot of workload, and in theory you're going to be doing it while you're still rolling down a taxiway. So not only are you trying to taxi the airplane, keep it on the center line, but you're trying to start the engine, monitor the parameters for the start, make sure the start is good, and then do a bunch of checklist items all over the airplane, everywhere, looking everywhere except outside while you're taxiing. Good luck with that single pilot.
1,000 to go.
Alt cell. Oh, he doesn't hear it. Alt cell.
Check.
(2992) set. 2992 set, cross check.
2992.
There we go. And now we're leveling off. Now we can slice some time off of this here. Alt.
Check.
Alright, I can mute you. Don't need to talk to you for a while now. Away we go. Port St. John. 393 miles to go, 1 hour 52, and fastly decreasing here, which is good. Because this is working out where I'm going to need to finish this and go pretty quickly, I think, at the end of this. There we go, 1 hour 43. Hopefully we can get down like 90 minutes. We're also going to make, when we make the turn at Vokem, we're still going to be more or less into the wind. It ain't going to get much better, unfortunately. What I might do for myself here, just to save myself some time, because there's no ATC online to complain about it, direct OpNap. That'll give us a little bit more, a little bit shorter route. Might have saved us like a minute or so. Right now we're gaining more time just because we're gaining ground speed quickly here. away that rudder input there. Let's see if we can center that trapezoid more or less. That's looking pretty good now. There we go, direct to obnap at 20,000 feet. Now we have 1 hour and 30 minutes to go. That's a little better. Alright, just waiting to do the cruise check. As soon as this airplane stops accelerating, which she's kind of slowing down. Just the speed's still creeping up slowly, but the acceleration's almost done. Only grounding 250 knots. No wonder it's going to take so long. I hope we catch this 80 knot wind on the way back. That'll make the flight closer to an hour. I hope. Never seems to be a headwind, or never seems to be a tailwind once you turn around and go back, though. Tailwind is always gone by the time you turn around and go back. It's just Murphy's Law of Aviation. But I think that's about it. We're not going to get a whole lot more out of this, so I'm going to go ahead and do the cruise check, which is mainly just bring the condition levers back to 850. Yeah, that 78 knots put us pretty much directly into the wind, but cut a couple miles off, so that'll probably still help us in the end. We're looking at an hour 24. Okay, not too bad. Alright, we're on our way. Another leg. The Dash 8 underway again. Let's see if we can get one of the mountains in the background. Pretty. Off we go. Alright, well, now that we're stuck up here in cruise, we can chat about a few things. Didn't have too much in mind to talk about. One thing that actually I did read about the other day that really kind of shocked me and kind of hit home a little bit as someone who's involved with this industry. The coronavirus itself is a little bit overblown, I think, and I'm not going to try to talk too much about it. There's more than enough information out there in the news media. But the one thing that did sort of shock me is how quickly the fallout is coming into the aviation industry from this. The doom and gloom that people are predicting for the population in general is probably not going to happen, but for the aviation industry, travel, especially in the Asia region, is just bottoming out like crazy. So over the weekend, I read that Lufthansa themselves have canceled 25% of their short and medium haul flying for the next, I forget what the exact time period was, I think it was the next month or two. 25% of their flying in Europe, and this is in Europe. Lufthansa has canceled 25% of their flying due to falling demand. There's just not enough people to fill the flights, so they're reducing the number of flights so that they don't lose too much money in the interim. And I thought that was pretty dramatic for Lufthansa to be in Germany, you know, far away from the epicenter, certainly. There obviously is illness in Europe, but far away from the epicenter. And then the day after that, I read that Cathay Pacific is going to park 50% of their fleet for the foreseeable couple of months. For the next couple of months, they're going to park 50% of their fleet and cut their flying by 75%. Or maybe it was the other round, park 75% of fleet, cut their flying by 50%. Either way, dramatic, huge cuts by Cathay. And obviously, with good cause, they are close to the epicenter. A lot of their flying takes place in and around the epicenter. But to think that the flying, that travel in that region has fallen off enough of a cliff that Cathay Pacific, you know, one of the world's largest, oldest airlines, certainly largest international carriers, to think that they have cut that much of their service speaks volumes, I think, to how much this is impacting travel demand. And it's not that people are dying around the world, but people are just leery of traveling. If it doesn't trigger a global recession, it's going to definitely trigger a global hiccup, as people just suddenly stay close to home, try not to travel too much, trying to get into close contact with other people. And aviation's one where you're going to be close contact. The back of this airplane is a very small space, with usually crammed pretty close to full with people. You're going to be with these people for hours at a time. You know, anything they have, you're going to have by the end of the flight, probably. So I understand where it's coming from, but it was still, like, that was a little bit shocking and really hit home that Cathay cut that much of their flying that quickly. And most of the airlines in North America have been pretty cautious. They're cutting Chinese flights. They're cutting 10% of the flights, maybe 10% of their overseas traffic. Generally not a whole lot of cuts across the board, but to see a major airline like that have to resort to such a drastic cut so quickly, it's a little bit shocking, a little bit worrisome for the industry as a whole. Hopefully, it's short-lived. I think the biggest thing is that it's not something that is easy to predict. You know, even recessions are generally easy to predict. You know they're going to last like several months to a couple of years before demand rebounds. This is something where, you know, I won't say it's unprecedented, but definitely in the modern age, you know, I can't think of any other disease outbreak that has triggered such a worldwide, you know, infections, travel rate drop-off, that this has been a huge shock for the industry as a whole worldwide. I was reading numbers, and the numbers just blew my mind. I think I had estimated that worldwide airlines are going to lose something like $30 to $40 billion this year as a result of this shock, as a result of sudden, dramatic reduced demand for flying, demand for travel. It's a little bit shocking. Seem to be still able to fill up these digital flights, but the real world flights, they're having a real hard time selling seats anymore. People are changing their schedules, canceling flying. Conferences are being canceled, so business people are not flying, and business people are where most of these airlines make their money. So when the business conferences start getting canceled and business people stop flying, airlines really start to worry. If the vacationers stop flying, they only paid $200 or $300 a seat to sit there. They're usually not that bad. It's the first class, the business class. That's where airlines make their money, and that's where they really start to worry when those people are not going. Those people are not traveling anymore. This is going to have some interesting side effects too, though. This sudden huge drop in travel demand. It's almost, in a way, and this is me trying to find the silver lining. In a way, it's a little bit of a good thing for the airlines to see a drop. Not this much of a drop, but most airlines worldwide have struggled with the 737 MAX groundings for, I guess it's been well over a year now. Have struggled with this. Has it been more than a year? I can't even remember, but it's been close to a year if it hasn't been a year. And a lot of airlines have struggled. They've lost a large portion of their fleet. A lot of the planes they've ordered that they were hoping to expand their fleet and expand their flying are sitting parked on runways down in Seattle at Boeing's factory, waiting for the chance to fly again. So airlines, most airlines worldwide, are, with the exception of the few that haven't ordered a lot of 737s, are having some big capacity issues. You know, and it's not that there isn't capacity, but they had planned on having quite a bit more, 10-20% more than they have right now, and it's making it very hard. There's a lot of balancing going on, trying to make sure that there's enough planes and enough seats available on the various routes for the things that have been sold. So this may offer an interesting little reprieve for the airline industry as a whole to sort of, okay, exhale, we've got a little bit of room now, we've got a little bit of excess capacity we can deal with. So that's one way that this is a little bit of a good thing for the industry, and again, I'm not saying that people getting sick is a good thing, but the industry has been on a tear the last half a decade at least, if not the last decade, just absolutely posting phenomenal numbers all the time, profitability across the board, with so many airlines in a business that has almost never seen profitability from airlines before, not consistently anyways. The other thing that this is also going to be a bit of a side benefit for is the pilot shortage. The pilot shortage is real. It exists. It is happening worldwide, especially in North America. It is extremely hard for employers to find pilots, and especially experienced pilots. The people that are being hired to sit in the right seat of airliners, it sometimes is shocking how little experience some of these people have when they get sitting in the right seat of an airliner. And even people upgrading to the left seat, sitting in the captain's seat. It's amazing how many people are getting into that seat without a whole lot of experience. It's definitely more than obviously to the right seat, but you know, you're talking almost no experience when you sit in the right seat, and maybe 2 years of flying experience when you go sit in the left seat of an airliner. Unprecedented again for at least 40 or 50 years. It's probably been 2 generations since we've seen pilots in this high demand, that people with such a low level of experience are getting into the flight deck of commercial airliners. And I'm not saying that they can't do the job. A lot of them can. A lot of them are very capable. Some people do need a little bit more exposure, a little bit more experience before they're able to do the job. But the fact is, the airlines have to hire these people. So, one major airline here in Canada has been reported that they are planning to hire 1,100 to 1,200 pilots this year, this calendar year. 100 pilots per month for a major airline is still a lot. And where are those pilots coming from? If they're coming from regional airlines, then you know, these regional airlines are losing combined 100 pilots a month to one airline alone, plus probably the other airlines are hiring just as many. You know, you're losing, you know, a dozen pilots a month out of only 100. Like, you're talking 30-40% turnover in a year. Per year, you're talking 30%, 40% of your pilots have left and have gone to work somewhere else, and you're hiring replacements for them. The amount of training going on, I think, is unprecedented in modern history of aviation. Certainly in the last, like I said, 20, 30, 40 years. The current generation of pilots has never seen a shortage of pilots this bad. And it's real, it exists. Certain airlines are okay. The larger airlines generally are okay because they still are able to lure in top talent from their regional affiliates, but regionals especially are having a super hard time filling the bill, trying to find people who can fly these airplanes. They just don't exist. People have not been interested in flying very much for a long time. I mean, obviously some of you out there are interested in flying, and there are plenty of aviation enthusiasts, but not like they have in past generations. People were super excited about the thought of flying, and kids today, especially now, it's rare to see a kid want to visit a flight deck. He's probably got more computer power at his fingertips with the iPad he's playing at as he's sitting in the back in the cabin than we have up front here on the FMSs and the PFDs and MFDs and everything combined. Computer power and you know, bells and whistles and buttons and doodads don't wow kids like they used to. So people are not getting into the industry like they used to, and it's a bit of a shame because it's still an interesting industry. But it's funny how this has even shifted my own thought process. I was never used to endorse the idea of my children ever becoming pilots. If they ever told me they wanted to become pilots, I'd say no. Over my dead body, go work in a business where you're going to actually have a chance of making a real living. After 30, 40 years of deregulation and airlines just slowly shaving away more and more costs, more and more from everything and everybody. Why did this not sequence here? This guy's not direct anything. Just looking around and I see he's not direct anything. We are direct now to YQU. I think it was Prince Rupert, I think. It's Prince something, I think. Prince George, maybe. There he goes. You know, for 30, 40 years of deregulation, everything has slowly been shaved away, so to the point where, like, just trying to become a pilot, it's not the pilots were not getting raises, but they basically, most of the time salaries weren't being cut, they just simply were not keeping pace with inflation. So the real earning dollars of a pilot salary have been getting steadily less and less over the last, 30 years easily. And now to have it suddenly turned around, in a matter of 3-4 years, it went from, we got too many pilots and you need thousands and thousands of hours just to sit in the right seat, to, do you know anybody who can work here because we need people desperately? And I'd never seen that before. It's gotten to the point where I would tell my kids if they were interested, you know what, it's actually a pretty good time to be a pilot. If you want to be a pilot, if you ever thought about it, it's as good a time as any right now. Airlines are hiring like crazy. You shoot them a resume, they'll call you like 3 days later and say, hey, would you like an interview? Used to be airlines would hold on to piles and piles of resumes. They'd get thousands of resumes in a month, and they'd go through it and they would only pick out like the best, like 10 or 20 to even call for an interview. 90% of people who sent an airline, their resume would never even see, probably it's on, would never even get an answer. So to see this kind of change in the industry is just phenomenal. To see pilots in such demand. So any of you simmers out there that have ever been thinking about it, it's not cheap to get into. You still have to pay for your own flying lessons to get there, but you don't need to pay. You don't need to work as hard to get to the airlines once you finish. Whereas you used to have to, throw bags on a ramp for 5-7 years up north somewhere. Flight instruct, teach students for 5 or 10 years before you'd even think about getting like an entry-level job sitting right seat in some little Piper Navajo or something. Now you can, 6 months after you get your license, you can be right seat in a Dash 8, you can be right seat in a regional jet. The change of pace has just been phenomenal, and how fast it snuck up on the industry. It was something that was discussed, for the last 15 years. The pilot shortage is coming, and every couple of years someone would sound some death knell about it, and the industry's never going to be the same because there's not enough pilots, and it never seemed to materialize. And then all of a sudden, overnight, it was there. In a matter of like 6 months to a year, a lot of airlines suddenly went from we're doing okay hiring people to like we're losing people like crazy, and we cannot find people to replace them. Just looking at my chat window here, Nav Canada needs a metric ton of controllers due to retirements as well, and they pay while you're training. you know, and that's a good job too, absolutely. If you're interested in aviation, you don't want necessarily the flying lifestyle, you don't want to be away all the time from your family, you don't mind being, you know, if you want the aviation, be involved in aviation but without traveling, certainly being a controller is a great way to get into it. They pay well, they pay you during training. It's a tough job to get into. If you're interested in it, I encourage you to apply. It is an extremely tough job to get into, and with good cause. I want my controllers to be well trained. I want them to be the cream of the crop, but it is a very difficult job to get into. The training and the testing is the testing during training is continuous. Every week you have like another test, another thing you have to be tested on, and each test is, each test I think the pass mark is like 90%. And you fail one test and you're out, you wash out, that's it, you're done. You don't get a second chance, you don't get retakes. You have to pass each test at like 90%. It's a ridiculously high, it's a very rigorous training process. They do pay you as long as you're there doing training. I've known plenty of people to go into it. I've only known a very few who have succeeded. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone. If you think it's something you might be interested in, give it a try. They'll call you in for an interview. They'll give you some skills assessments. If they think you might have a chance, they'll call you in to do some training. And it said you will get paid during the training until you wash out. If you wash out, thank you very much for showing up. Here's your last paycheck. Good luck in life, and you'll find something else to do. But it's definitely worth trying. And it says they're supposed to have may already have updated their aptitude tests to pre-filter applicants so that you reduce the washout rate, which is probably a good thing. They don't want to waste a lot of time training people who aren't going to make it. But at the same time, you do have to make sure that the people who are making it through are the cream of the crop. They're sharp. They have knowledge. They have skills. They know how to do their job well without having to be told what they're doing. So, yeah. Anyways, it's definitely worth considering. Aviation travel is still a great business out there. There's lots of openings for it. This coronavirus is most likely, I sincerely believe, it's going to be a temporary blip. The length of the blip, who knows? Is it going to be a couple of months? Might it be like through the summer and into the fall? Who knows? I think it sounds like it's already peaked in China, which is great. The rest of the world already has a little bit of a grasp of it. I don't think it's quite peaked yet worldwide. I think a lot of countries have yet to reach their peak in terms of infection rates, but it's also going to leave people cautious for a while too. It's like the stock market. Just because it's actually doing well doesn't mean people are going to feel like it's doing well. So I think travel demand will fall for a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a permanent damper on demand. I think people will go back to traveling again once they feel the threat has passed. So if you're thinking about a career in aviation, this is the best time in over a generation to get into it one way or another, whether as a pilot, as a controller. Airlines are expanding, and the pilot shortage, especially for those of you interested in flying airplanes, the pilot shortage is real. It exists. It's there now. If you have the money or have the ability to borrow money to get your license, to get a commercial license, and you can probably find yourself a job fairly easily. Companies are actually fighting each other for pilots. They are reaching out and cold calling people. Hey, we hear you have a pilot's license. Would you like to come work for us instead of the company you're currently working for? Never has that happened in the last 40 years, where the airlines wait for you to send them a resume and then they might think about calling you. Never have they been like canvassing their employees, hey, if you know anybody, give us their phone number, we'd like to call them and see if they're interested in an interview and a job. It's unprecedented at this point. This is kind of a fun little route here. We got the mountains on our left, and we got the prairies on the right, splitting right up the edge of the mountains here as we head north. Interesting. Definitely a scenic route, though. Nice lake we just flew past there. Definitely a very scenic route up there. And how are we doing here? We got an hour left to go. 300 miles. If we could actually get the... we could lose a little bit of that headwind, that would help. We may start down a little bit earlier than normal, just to help try and build up some speed and get us out of the headwind, perhaps. We'll see. What else is happening these days? I did see a preview for FS Dream Team has announced what their next scenery is going to be, and it's an interesting step for FS Dream Team. Their next scenery that they've announced is going to be Pittsburgh, which is an interesting sidestep to me, it's a bit of a sidestep for FS Dream Team. And it's not that Pittsburgh is an uninteresting airport, but it's a very quiet airport now. 20 years ago, it was a hub for U.S. Airways, and then U.S. Airways and American merged. And that hub got shut down in favor of, there's a lot of other American hubs nearby, out in like JFK, and I'm trying to think where they have a hub to the west there. I mean, they've got obviously Chicago. Pittsburgh was quickly rendered redundant, and the amount of traffic going in and out of there, it's a relatively big terminal, very little traffic going in and out of there. And I thought it was a bit of an interesting sidestep for FS Dream Team, a company that's generally specialized at doing some of the busiest airports in certainly in North America, and for them to sort of step aside into an airport that's relatively quiet. It's also underserved in the sim market. There's no one else has really done it, and it is an interesting little airport. Fun approaches, I'll say that. I've been there, and very turbulent approaches. There's a lot of hills right nearby on the approaches, and a lot of uneven terrain, so it makes very challenging approaches whenever you're going in there. It's almost always a nice gusty wind. So it'd be interesting to see that one. Anyways, it's an airport that's definitely been underserved, and I'm happy to see them do it. I also read that somebody was doing Cleveland in the near future. I can't remember who announced it. Somebody announced that they were going to be making Cleveland. And again, this is a part of the world that has not received much love lately. Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, all sort of these like Rust Belt, Ohio airports, Michigan airports, and very little love from the developers for a long time. So it's nice to see some of these airports it's nice to see, first of all, that they're not doing the same airports again and again. If one developer has done a major airport, there's no need for another developer to step in and say, hey, we're going to do this airport too. Sometimes it's an accident. Nobody announces what they're doing. They keep playing the cards close to their chest until everyone's too far along. Like, well, we were doing it too. We're all going to finish it. And I get that. But when you know there's a pretty decent quality airport out there and you go and copy it, I think it becomes a little annoying, a little redundant. There's so many airports out there that are not done, that could be done. So it's nice to see some variety. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, two relatively quieter airports, but still, I think they'll get a lot of love. They're short flights from a lot of major airports, so they'll be good ones people would like flying to, I think. Alright, we got just under an hour to go. We're getting there. So I've been chatting away for quite a while here, so I think I may step away for just a couple of minutes, just grab myself a bite to eat, because I'm getting pretty hungry here. Yeah, I may step away for about 10 minutes here, get something to eat, and then when we come back, we'll start setting up for the arrival. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the nice external views here while we do that, and I will be back in just a couple of Alright guys, welcome back. Sorry for that little delay there, but just need to grab myself a little something to eat, a little something to drink. It is, it's not always easy being a pilot. Sometimes you work schedules like this, and it's hard to find enough time to eat and drink. It really is. Most airlines don't serve their pilots anymore. Don't serve their food and drink to their pilots anymore. So it really becomes a little bit of a challenge. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle, certainly. But even just finding food and drink, you've got to go find some in the airport. Sometimes your turnarounds are so quick you don't have time to go in and get anything. You'll go 6 or 8 hours, and all you might get is a couple bags of almonds, whatever you might be able to steal from the cabin, because that's all you have access to. You have to try and plan ahead. Sometimes things don't work out the way you plan either, though. And that's part of the problem, though, is when you don't have when you have delays, breaks that you had planned on getting some food no longer exist, and you're left with nothing much left to eat. So it can be a very tough life sometimes, being in the aviation industry. The hours you end up having to work, and then by the time you get to somewhere, whether it be home or whether it be a hotel and some layover, and it ends up being that everything's closed by the time you get there. So you have no dinner options left. Maybe you can order a pizza, is the best thing you can do, or reheat some TV dinner from the store in the hotel, from the little commissary store they might have in the hotel. That might be about your only options. Eating healthy especially can be a very challenging thing in this business. It takes a lot of planning to bring enough food. It'll last for a couple of days, and then the second you have to cross a border, maybe you weren't supposed to do domestic and suddenly you're supposed to do domestic and suddenly get assigned to an international flight. All that food that you brought, that you spent all that time preparing and planning, oh yeah, you can't bring that across the border. You have to throw it all away now. Very frustrating sometimes, trying to just find a place, just find ways to eat in this business. Hence I ran out of the flight deck and got myself a little bit of food while we are on our way in here. We're looking at 40 minutes to go till we land in Fort St. John. So we're definitely getting there reasonably quick now. And so it's time to start doing a little bit of analysis, because I've never been to this place before. I really have to spend a few minutes looking at this place, trying to figure out what it's all about. So we're going to start with our charts here, as always. So we're going to go ahead and kill these charts. We're going to go to our destination and open the charts list there. Starting with, I'm going to imagine they have no star. They do have a SID for next time when we leave. We're not leaving today. We will have to return to Calgary, but we're not doing it today. So let's have a look at the taxi chart and see what the layout of this airport is here. X marks the spot, I guess. One giant X, 2 runways, both pretty much the same length, 66, 69. Same difference really as far as this airplane's concerned. So neither one is necessarily more or less favorable than the other. Let's see what we got in terms of approaches here. So basically we have one ILS to runway 30. We have an ILS to runway 30, and other than that, and that would be the straight-in one for us, everything else has got an RNAV approach. The ILS is not too bad. It gets you down 200 feet there by the looks of it, as long as the little approach lining is working, so that's pretty good. I don't think the weather's an issue anyways. I also don't see too much actual high terrain marked on this map, so I think as we go further northwest here, I think we're getting away from mountainous terrain. There's one little blip of a higher hill to the northwest, but there's nothing that really necessitates much marking on the map, so it's mostly fairly flat. We're not going to have any great mountain valleys we have to fly through and to get to this place, so it's all pretty straightforward, all pretty straightforward approaches here. So let's see. First of all, we are online, so let's just ask. No, that one. Let's ask what the weather is doing here. Winds 240, 23 gust 29. That's a pretty good crosswind there if we decide to try and do the straight in on 30. Not outside the limits of this aircraft. 60 miles visibility, view at 8,000. It's a nice day. It's 2 degrees. It's actually not too bad there either. And 2947. So before I forget anything else, let's go ahead and set 2947 in the backup so we've got it when we want it. So it becomes a question of, do we want to do the straight-in ILS to 30, or do we want to circle around and do the RNAV to, what runway is it here? RNAV to runway 21. It's probably going to be our best bet. It's going to be the least amount of crosswind. It's not that the 23 gusting 29 is outside of limits, but it would be a little bit challenging. Let's see here, runway 0321 is 200 feet wide. Runway 1230 is 150 feet wide. Yeah. I kind of want to take the straight in 30 because it'll save us a little bit of time, but it's going to be a pretty substantial crosswind. I'm going to go with, let's make the safer choice. Let's circle around and do the RNAV 21 via Otani. It appears to be the way in here. So let's go ahead and put that in here. Flight plan menu. For somebody who tried to do that. Okay, let's do flight plan menu, arrive. So we're doing the RNAV 21. Yes, this is the best bet via Otani. Seems to be the best way to go here. And so what we'll do is after we cross, I believe it's Prince Rupert, Prince George, whichever prince it is, we're going to go direct to Otani right after that. So why am I looking down here when I've got it right up here? Oh, some days. CYYC-CYXJ Otani, that'll help with that, and then we can come up with a little bit of a VNAV plan as well. Oh, not that one. Charts, cute charts. So let's see here. Kelga recommended is 4,000 inbound. We're going to intercept just before Kegney. So if we level off 4,000 at Kelga, that will work out quite nicely to get us set up. That's about a 5, so that's exactly a 10-mile final. Okay. Let us aim to cross Kelga at 4,000 then. I don't see any altitude restriction here at Otani. 4,400 the MSA. If we're aiming for Kelga at 4,000, I'm sure we'll be 4,400, above 4,400 when we hit Otani. So let's do that. So for VNAV planning purposes, we're going to plan Kelga at, yeah, well, there it is, we're going to plan at 4,000. And 3.43 is a little bit extreme, so let's go with 1,600 feet per minute. That's a bit better. Start down in 21 minutes. Oop. Off in the clouds again. There we are. I mean, it's not like it's not prairie flat out here, but it's not mountainous. The mountains have kind of fallen away more to our west, which is fine. How's that wind doing still? The wind's starting to drop a little bit too, so that's probably helping our arrival a little bit as well. Not too bad of a day out here. I'm sorry guys, if you guys are chatting, I've been so busy with this, I haven't even reopened my app here to see what you guys are talking about, so. Alright, we are getting there. Okay, so let's get some speeds in. We're going to be still fairly heavy for landing because we took a lot of fuel with us here. Looking like 59.7, so we can probably round that up to 60,000 should be close enough for what we're trying to do. If I can find my... Sorry. Looking all around the flight deck, this track I hear sometimes, I hate to constantly pause it, but... Alright, 60,000 pound numbers here. We're going to do a flap 35 landing. Should we do flap 15? We're going to have to backtrack. So yeah, we'll do flap 35. It'll be a little slower. We'll stop quicker because we're going to have to backtrack to get to the terminal if we land at 24. So yeah, let's do that. So let's do flap 35 landing. So at 60,000 pounds, we're looking at ref of 118. And go around with 114. And then fry and climb, we're looking at 28 and 51. Which is the same as we had before. Hey, what do you know? Perfect. Love it. Alright, very consistent. So one thing I'll do as well before I forget is I'm going to pull my FS2 crew back down here just so you guys can see a little bit of what we're doing here. Hit the brief button for the arrival. So the FO knows what we're going to do. We're going to do flap 35. I'm going to be in a hurry. We're going to put the APU on for the arrival. We don't need SDX. It's a standard arrival. I assume there's no gates up here. I could be wrong. And it's going to be an RNAV. We're going going to transition via vectors to the RNAV, dry runway, no NTAs required, bleeds on. Okay, that briefing stuff's all correct. Just so the FO correctly goes through stuff as we're doing the after landing flow. I'm not going to worry about single engine taxi in on this one just because it's going to be a pretty short taxi. There's a diminishing return with single engine taxi when you've got a short taxi in. You've got enough other tasks to do. Staggering the engine shutdowns does not save that much fuel, especially if you're only taxiing in for 1 or 2 minutes. So I think in this case we're better off just waiting, just waiting and shutting it all down at one go. Okay, I think that's about everything. So, are you ready for the approach brief?
Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to just pause my track IR here. Alright, so there is no arrival into Fort St. John. We're just going to transition directly from YQU, which is... I'm totally wrong. It's Grand Prairie. I'm sorry, guys. I've been totally wrong on this. My bad. Grand Prairie. Oh, 1 second. Just need to fix that. Alright, so we're going to cross YQU, which is Grand Prairie. I don't know why I kept thinking it was like Prince George or Prince Rupert or something. And from there, we're going to transition. We're going to go straight into an RNAV runway 21 approach. RNAV GNSS runway 21. Final approach course should be 206. The VDA at Kegney 3920. So we're going to hit Kelga at 4,000 and then go down to Kegney. And it's a 3-degree glide slope down. The LNAV MDA is 2680. So let's make sure we got that set correctly here. Oop. Stop doing that. There we go. $26.80. Yep. 80. There we go. Alright, got it. So the LNAV MDA is 2680. And let's just make sure we've got the right waypoints here. So our VNAV is directly to Kelga. Kelga first, and then yeah, Kegney is where it is. Where we cross that. Okay, good. And it should be 206, 206, 208, 207. It's within reasonable limits. Alright. The airport elevation at 2280, so this is 400 feet above, so 2280, so we gotta also make sure we adjust this. There we go, for about 2200, good. And, yeah, the MSA, all sectors around the runway threshold is 4,400 feet. The missed approach is climb straight ahead 6,000 on track of 206 to Vilmu. And the only note here is the 100-mile safe is 10,300 mountains off to the west, southwest and west there. Intercept is based on 4,000 feet. And yeah, so recommended 4,000 feet to intercept the final descent, which is 3-degree glide slope down to the runway. Pappy's on the left, Odals. 1 1/4 is the minimum visibility. It says 60 miles. So I think we're going to be okay. Landing on 21 here in... Oh, I should probably flag this too, just so I have it handy on my bottom thing here. So landing on Fort St. John, runway 21. We're going to plan to probably backtrack runway 21, or maybe even if it works out conveniently, we can take a right turn on runway 1230. Either way, we've got the flop 35 to try and make sure we're stopped before that point. Taxi back to the terminal, which I guess is up here since there's nothing else there. Aerobatics may be in progress over airport, 6,000 MSL and below, limited winter maintenance. Good times, good times. Hopefully it was a nice day there. It's all melted. That's about it. Runway 21 is 200 feet wide. I think that's it. Weather is, seems like a beautiful day there. Operational, what have I got for operational here? Do I have any NOTAMs for Fort St. John? An amendment to the runway 12 approach procedure, and that's it. That's it, nothing else. So, I think we're all set. Any questions?
No questions.
There we go. Alright. So there we are. We got about 70 miles to top a drop. About 120 miles till we get to our destination. Turning it up pretty quick here. Probably as we cross over Grand Prairie, I might just start a slow descent at that point. Because still got a bit of a headwind here. Still got 71 knot quartering headwind. So if we can start down a little early, maybe get away from that headwind, keep the speed up as we go down, might work out better for us anyways. That's it. Almost ready to end this leg. I can't believe we got the 2 legs in. That Edmonton-Calgary is a short leg. I don't think I have any other legs quite that short for the rest of this schedule, which is a shame. But nevertheless, we're getting them done. I'm actually pretty impressed we got 2 legs done today. And after this, I think we're only going to have 5 legs left to do. I think after Fort St. John, we do a Kamloops turn and we do a Saskatoon turn. So 5 legs left, and then this schedule is done, which is pretty good. And then will come the really interesting decision of where am I going to work next, because I've enjoyed flying the Dash, but it's time to move on to something else. It's a great airplane, it really is. It's lots of fun. Majestic, you've done a great job, but I think it's going to be time. I will enjoy the challenge of flying something else. And working for a different airline, and also collecting a bigger paycheck probably, because it seems like one thing that seems to happen here in the SimBit world, I don't think I can switch now, can I, right? No, we'll switch all the flights in progress, but when you go to the job market, it seems like the companies that you're not working for are always trying to lure you in with a slightly higher paycheck than your current pay rate. My current pay rate is 13 something an hour. It's pretty abysmal. And hence, I've only, after 4 or 5 months, I've only amassed $300. It's pretty abysmal, so I'm looking forward to switching companies, bumping up my pay to go somewhere else, and also completing my time as a junior first officer, moving up to a regular first officer, and that alone will encompass probably a little pay bump for me. Slowly making progress in this career. I don't know if I'm going to make captain anytime this side of the end of the year, but that's fine. We're just having fun. It's fun to do this. I'm looking forward to doing a different aircraft type. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be something along the lines of either a Scairbus or a 3.7. That'll probably be the next job. So maybe mainline WestJet might be fun. Definitely a lot more diverse set of destinations, but again, longer flying too. It's going to be harder to get these streams in, and I may end up having to split streams into 2 just to get some of the flights in, especially once you get into longer ones. We've been here for 3 hours. This is about the max I can really do for streaming. So we may have to find another way to take care of these, but nevertheless, it's been fun. I've enjoyed this, and it's taken me to a couple of airports now that I probably might not have gone to otherwise, and that's part of the fun. And I think that's one thing that a lot of these good softwares will do, is they will encourage you to visit airports you haven't visited before. Air Hauler does the same thing, rather than just go to all the ones you know. It would be neat, though, also, I think, and now that I'm thinking about it, it could be fun. A pilot's life lets you check off which airplane types you have, and to call some type ratings. Which airplanes are you type rated on? Which software do you own? What if you were to do something similar with your bidding process and say, I would like to bid for airports that I have scenery for? Interesting idea. Because I have so many airports with good scenery, and I love exploring new airports too, but I also like to go back to the airports that I do have good scenery for, that I've paid good money for, and I'd like to reuse them. Maybe in different combinations, different routes, but I'd like to reuse them. So, interesting thought. How difficult would it be to either have a pilot's life auto-detect which add-on airports you have, or conversely, input the ones that you prefer, perhaps, into your bid process. I would like to pass through these stations, because a lot of real-world bid processes do allow that. A lot of airlines do allow that. Bid to go to certain stations, or bid to avoid certain stations, or bid for layovers in certain cities. You can certainly bid for those things. I might be laying too much on these guys. The bidding software for an airline is also incredibly complicated to run, to program, to run, to make sure it runs properly, fairly, accountably. Is not an easy thing at all. Many airlines struggle with it all the time, and to try and simulate it. I mean, the nice thing is that it's not people's lives that you're playing with. It's just a simulation, so you can simplify things and still have it work out. There we go. We're just about ready to see some of this stuff pop in there. How long have we got now? Based on our present rate, we got 20 minutes, 20,000 feet. We'll wait another 3 or 4 minutes before we start down here. We're showing top and drop in 7 minutes. I might wait about 3-4 minutes and then we'll start down. Just see if we can just get out of this headwind, which the headwind's starting to diminish even as we go here, but even if we can start down and the headwind starts to drop off even a little more, we might get there just a little bit quicker. Crossing over Grand Prairie now. I don't know where the airport is relative to the VOR, if it's on the field or what the deal is there. And it looks like the airport is off to our southeast somewhere, off to our east somewhere, so I think we missed it. Oh well, c'est la vie. Just a few minutes and we'll start down and then we'll be there. I'm glad I did get to show you guys the single engine taxi today, and I will have a few more interesting things to share in the next couple of streams. There's a few more interesting things I want to share about this dash before I move on from it. At least one more really interesting, neat thing that I'd like to share, and I probably will try to start doing it during the next stream. Another thing that just helps to increase the immersion. But I'm going to save that for the next stream, which probably won't be for a week or two. We'll see what happens. It might be next week. I think it might be next week, actually. Always depends on the schedule and what happens. Depends if the teachers go on strike again or not. All these one-day teacher strikes are taken away from my stream time here. Done this probably because it's in the airport, so I guess that must be Grand Prairie down there behind us, below us. Oh, look at that. We see you. There appears to be a nice little airport down there. Hold on 1 second, and if I was a betting man, I'd bet that's another FTX Global Airport, because that looks like more scenery than a default airport would necessarily have. So if I were a betting man, I'd bet that's another Orbex Freeware Airport down there at Grand Prairie. Alright, what have we got now? 4 minutes. Alright. 100 miles safe, I think, was 13 something, so we're going to go ahead and go down to 14,000 to start. There's 14,000 feet. And VS minus 1,000. See if we can get out of that headwind a little early here. Right now showing arrival at 12:01. We've been slowly making up a little bit more and more time here. 12:01 local time. Get the power back just a little bit, just enough to keep us just below that red line. I think that's going to work out nicely. Let's see if that headwind decreases much. It's not exactly a huge headwind at this point, but still would be nice to see it drop off a little bit more. See if we can get close to grounding 330 even, 320 maybe. And looks like we sliced off another minute there. We went from 12:01 to 12 o'clock. We've been slowly slicing off time. The other thing is the wind seems to be shifting as we go down. Seems to be backing a little bit, which is also making it less and less of a headwind, which is also good. do another weather check. When was that weather? 1800 Zulu weather. Still 1800 Zulu, no changes. Could be a gusty wind. And a quick VATSIM check just to see if anybody's bombing around up here at all. Nope. Nobody's interested in Fort St. John today. A couple Edmonton flights now. To and from Kelowna. I did not know that Kelowna is the 10th busiest airport in Canada. That one surprised me a little bit. I just read that when they, FSDT Studios just released their Kelowna scenery. 10th busiest airport in Canada. I had no idea. It's a beautiful little airport. I love going in and out of there. That was a fun little approach, but I had no idea that airport was that busy. Of course, on VATSIM, it does seem to be very busy. I see a lot of traffic in and out of Kelowna on VATSIM for what is not like a major international airport. It's definitely quite a busy little local airport. Alright, transition, set 2947. Descent checklist to the line.
Altimeters.
2947, set, cross-check.
2947, set, cross-check. Fuel balance. Check. Pressurization, set. Cabin PA. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival. Cabin PA complete. Descent belt switch.
On.
Approach and landing brief.
Completed.
Complete. Descent checklist completed to the line.
And the question is, am I using track IR? The answer is yes. Oh, yes. I know it's a little bit disconcerting for streaming, but boy, what a difference it makes in immersion as well, too. To be able to look around smoothly, easily, and even more than the looking around is doing things like this. Hey, what's the altimeter on the ISI? Or coming in here, oop, and there's my red line. Coming in here to set, the bugs on the PFD. The forward and backward motion is almost more of an advantage than just the turning. Uh-oh. What happened to that airplane? Hold on. Well, you find all sorts of interesting things. avherald.com. Aha, interesting. So migrations are ever my astute channel observer here pointed out that on November 29th, 2018, this particular aircraft, alt-cell, C-FIWE, actually before I go into this, let me just have a look at the approach plate again here. See, the 100-mile safe is 10,300. Okay, so we can go a little bit lower. We can go down to 11,000. So let's go down to 11,000. I thought it was 13,000. It was 10,300. So we'll continue to descend to 11,000 for now. So ever the astute observer of my channel, he pointed out that on November 29th, 2018, this particular Dash 8, Foxtrot India Whiskey Echo, which is the one that we are flying here. If I can find a tail view here. Somewhere there. There you go. Had a problem with the gear. They performed a manual extension, and the nose gear did not come down properly. They had to. They did manage to do it during a second manual gear extension. They managed to get it to kick down, and as a result, they had an uneventful landing thereafter. After they did declare an emergency and had it, but they did have an uneventful landing at the end of the day. But interesting. So that was this aircraft that is supposedly painted. But it's interesting, like, you know, a lot of these accident aircraft end up being reused. Like, it depends on the level of damage, obviously, that happens to an aircraft. But the one that shocked me, and I had no idea, now I am always on the lookout for it. But the Transat 330 that glided all the way to the Azores is still in operation with Air Transat, as far as I know. So I've found out the registration, and I'm constantly on the lookout for that airplane now to see that it's still flying. It's funny to, you know, you often think that airplanes that are involved in accidents don't fly again, but if they're not completely destroyed, they will fly again. A lot of them will fly again. Things that you don't think will happen, that maybe too much damage is caused. It's amazing how much damage can be fixed. It may not always be pretty, but it's amazing how much damage that they will sometimes fix to keep an aircraft operating. We did lose some of that wind. Now we lost our ground speed too. We lost our true airspeed as we go down, so it ended up being about the same. So interesting. It was FSIM Studios just released their Kelowna scenery. That was the question. Who released it? It's FSIM Studios released their Kelowna scenery. So they've done Edmonton, Calgary, and Quebec, and they just this week released Kelowna. And it looks pretty good to see some of the pictures. Since I have the sim add-ons, I'm probably not going to spring for it. It's a great looking airport. The sim add-ons rendition is pretty good. I'm going to probably just stick with that because I already have it. I'm not going to probably spend money on it again, but FSIM Studios does some nice ones. I have their Quebec. Their Quebec is pretty nice too. It's not quite certainly a level of like an FS Dream Team or anything like that. They could do a little bit better. I also had their Ottawa, which I was not impressed with, but it's a little bit dated now. It needs to be updated. Alt sell. So we really shouldn't go any lower until we get within 25 miles of the runway. So we'll just have to level off here at 11,000 for a little bit. But yeah, some of their scenery looks really good. Their Quebec was really good. I just wasn't a fan of their Ottawa. It looked a little bit, I don't know. I was not terribly impressed with it. So, but you know, developers are constantly also improving too as they go. They're learning new techniques. They're learning to improve their products more and more as they go. So, just because they've released one product that perhaps a while back that is not so good, maybe isn't up to today's standards, doesn't mean that the next product won't be up to today's standards. There definitely are, you know, there's definitely lots of room for improvement, and from what I've seen of their Calgary and their Edmonton, it looks like they have learned a fair bit and improved a bit. So I'd be happy to hear from anybody else who does have it, if they like it or not. But since I have the sim add-ons Kelowna, it's redundant and I don't feel that I need it. Which is a shame because it does look pretty good. But also, you know, we're trying to scale back to spending a little bit with the 2020 on the horizon. Who knows if it's going to be something that, you know, something that necessarily is going to be in my future. It probably will be at some point. But it is also interesting too because in the same article about the FSIM Studios Kelowna, they have noted that there will be an upgrade path to future sim platforms for their Kelowna property. So if you buy Kelowna Airport right now, they haven't decided what they're going to do. If it's going to be, you know, thrown in for the same price, probably it sounds like they're thinking like an upgrade price. So to switch the scenery, to switch from a P3D version to the Flight Sim 2020 version, sounds like it's going to be like an upgrade fee. You know, like $10 or $20 or whatever, $10, $15, $5, whatever it is, rather than buying the scenery outright again, which is good. I wish more developers would kind of take that approach. All right, now we're within about 25 miles, so we can go down to 4,400. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the VNAV path down. So we're just going to arm the VNAV there, and there we go. I'm just going to check the VNAV as well to see if it has... It seems to have stuff in there. Anyways. Alright, there's the VNAV path. Below the line.
GPWS landing flat. Selected 15 degrees. Fuel transfer.
I always get that one wrong.
Off. Hydraulic pressure quantity. Check. Caution warning lights. Check. Approach and flare lights. Check. On. Ref speeds. Switch bugs.
Set and off. What's the phraseology here? Where's my checklist? Offset.
Offset. FA notification. Complete. Descent checklist complete.
Checked. Alright, we're a little bit faster than we should be, below 10,000. We're bringing it back as quick as we can. We got them right at the idle detent there. Can't go any further back or I get the beta warning. Like that. There we go. Below 250, we're good. I don't think I saw any speed limits on the approach, so we're still going to keep it reasonable, but we're not limited as we come in here to 210 knots or less, something like that. Let's go sailing across the river there. I wonder if that's the Athabasca River, maybe? A little too far north of that, probably. I don't know. My Western Canada geography is pretty poor, I'm sorry. Alright, we should be seeing the airport out there. Is that it right there, maybe? That looks like the town. I see a few things out there. That could be it there. Beautiful day up here, at least, so we should get it pretty far back once we just sort of figure out where it is. Get myself all kind of set up for landing here. Go back and mute my FO again because he's listening to everything I say and trying to interpret it as commands. Sometimes that is not a good thing. Sometimes I talk about flaps 5 and then he does flaps 5. I feel like that might be the airport there, just to the south of the lake. Do my charts have the lake on it, actually? Hold on. Yeah. Oh, I have to go across the river as well, so it's more like the airport should be there, maybe. Oh, is that the airport right there? I think I see the airport right there. That little lid's kind of glowing there. It's not a very good... Hard to see from this angle, but if I look right there... There it is. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to turn across the lake, and there it is. Why do I like prepared so much? You know, that's a really good question. I like it mostly because I have it set up very much the way I like it at this point. There's a lot of good software. This Dash 8 is absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of good airplanes for it, and I think that's why. The default scenery obviously is not nearly as good as X-Plane, and I will absolutely grant that to anyone who wants to make that argument. But and there are some good airplanes coming to X-Plane now, so now it's just a question of just I'm invested in this ecosystem, in this software. I don't necessarily claim it's better than X-Plane, but I'm very comfortable with it. I'm very happy with it now. But yeah, but I understand and I agree that X-Plane has come a long way lately, and it really is a very nice piece of software now. Just getting the speed back a little bit, and I've played with it a little bit, and it's not bad. But again, I have everything set up the way I like it in P3D, and to go back and start again with another piece of software, I think it's. I don't look forward to the idea of starting all over again, if you will. Alright, I'm going to set 4,000. We're going to level off at 4,000 and get set up. I didn't know that about X-Plane. It consumes a lot of resources. You know, P3D consumes a lot of resources too, though. It does. Make no mistake, I've got a pretty good frame rate going on because we're off in the middle of nowhere and there's not a lot of good scenery around here. But, you know, you put even this airplane or a PMDG airplane at a very high detailed airport, and even with my brand new processor, I still have a hard time even consistently getting 30 frames per second. Alright, I'm going to have to focus on flying here for a little bit, guys. Keep the conversation to a minimum for a second. Not that I don't want to chat, but I need to chat with my FO now. Hide pumps on. Flap 5.
Flaps 5.
Really wide turn there. Why are we so high? We should have been at 4,000 final here. Seems like it's got a continuous descent profile programmed in nicely, at least. So okay, as long as we hit Kegney at 3920, then we're probably okay. Some of the patterns in the fields are really neat and unique too. Gear down. Reduced NP. Yeah, he didn't get it in time. I'm trying to remember the Mr. Approach, I think was 6,000? Yeah, it was. Okay, good. Flap 15 before landing, checklist to the line.
Flaps 15, landing gear.
Down, 3 green.
Down 3 green, condition levers.
Max.
Max, auxiliary standby PTU pumps, on, leads, on and min, FA notification, complete, flaps.
15 plan, 15 indicating. That's not right. Because we're plan 35. Alright, well at least we're VNAVing down, so let's go alt cell off. And Mr. Approach altitude is 6,000 is set. Flaps 35.
Flaps 35.
Indicating 35, planned 35.
Indicating 35 and plan 35. Before landing, checklist complete.
Cool.
1,000 above.
Checked. Gonna go down and throw out my PFD here so we can make sure we're watching the speed carefully. A little bit of hilly terrain out here. A little river valley we're getting across here. Carry probably about 10 extra knots for the wind gusts here today. I never did make a graphical, did I? Fort St. John traffic, Encore 3101 is on final runway 21. Trying to squeeze just a little bit more, but not too much power out of it. I don't want to overspeed too much, but she's still losing speed here. There, now we're getting a little upward trend. Visual. Disengage.
Above.
Check. Disengaging autopilot.
500.
Stable.
Minimums.
Landing.
Check.
It's not the best landing in the world. Kind of just wanted to float there a little bit, didn't she? Alright, we'll just make the right turn at the intersection. Fort St. John traffic, Encore 3101 is clear runway 21, taxiing runway 30 Alpha the apron.
Captain.
After landing checklist.
Okay.
Not the worst landing in the world. Kind of floated a little bit. We were losing speed on final, had way too much power, we ended up floating a bit. And that's the real challenge in this dash, is you need a little bit of power to cushion the landings a lot of the time, but too much and she just floats. Those huge
After
props.
landing checklist complete.
Checked. Those huge flops. The huge props tend to just make it float if you put on too much power. The lift goes all over the wing really quick. You know what, I didn't trigger any parking here. We'll go gate number 3 in the middle. Alright, that should be ice protection. It is. Finally clear the runway. He turned the strobe lights off for me anyways. I didn't realize it. I would have told him to keep them on. But anyways, it's fine. Alright, welcome to Fort St. John. Yeah, she is pretty flat out here. Don't see too many mountains. I mean, not totally flat. Definitely not mountainous terrain though. Alright, so we should have marshalers when we get to the apron here. Assuming near the tower here is probably where the main apron is. Some helipads here too. Let's see if I can find. Alright, still does not look like much of a terminal here. I'd like to see some airplanes. Doesn't look like much of a terminal now. Okay, marshalers in sight. Set taxi light to off.
Taxi light set to off.
Where's my marshaler and where does he want me to come in? Does he want me to come in like this? Which one of these guys is my marshaler? Or is the answer none of the above? I have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, yeah, okay, I see. He wants me that way. Okay, I got you now. He wants parallel citation. That's my marshaler over there. Okay, I got you now. So many people here. Crunch. I got it now. I see where he wanted me. Alright. Parking checklist to the line.
Taxi light.
Off.
Emergency brake.
Park.
No steering.
Off.
Standby PTU pumps.
Off.
Power levers.
Disc.
Condition levers.
Start feather.
Transponder.
Standing by.
Descent belt switch.
Off.
Bleeds.
Min off.
Parking checklist completed to the line.
Below the line.
External power APU.
On. External power is off, APU is on.
Condition levers.
Fuel off.
Lights.
Set.
Emergency light switch.
Off.
Standby, auxiliary, main, and battery master.
Batteries on.
Parking checklist complete.
Alright, we're here! Hooray! Oop. Goodbye, Mr. FO. You are muted now. We made it. There we go. Alright. Well, we made it. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. I've got to really get out of here now, but my flight is done here. Current flight is done. It's the return flight now. And another flight log. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. And we will see you guys all again really soon on the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Twitch channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Same name either way, Captain Nabs. And we will see you guys all very soon. Have a great rest of your day.